Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Sarah and this is Adventures with the Herberts. Today, in follow-up to the end of the cruise vlog series, I'm going to talk about my 10 tips for anybody that's going on their first ever Disney cruise, things that we wish we'd have known before we'd gone, things that might help you with the sort of planning process, and give you sort of tips and ideas of things going forward. So the first thing that I would like to talk about is Waterventures. So after you've done your first Disney cruise, you then become a Silver Castaway Cay member, which means that you can actually book from 90 days before your trip. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility on actually booking your port adventures, and the more cruises that you do, you then become a gold member, and so on and so on, which gives you more flexibility of when you can actually book your activities. Another thing to say here is that the port adventures can actually work out very, very expensive if you add that on top of your cruise. Although there's a lot of free activities on board the boat, so a lot of the activities off the ship actually work out quite expensive, especially if you're a family of 4, because even the younger children's prices come in line with the adults. So that's something to bear in mind when you're planning your cruise. Look at your port adventures, think about what you want to do, and make sure that you book it far in advance. So that's tip 1. 2 is drinks. So although there is a drinks package included, so all your soft drinks, coffees, teas and all that are included as part of the Disney cruise, something to bear in mind is alcohol isn't. One thing we didn't realise until we were actually on the ship for the first time was you can actually take alcohol on board. So as an adult you can either take 2 bottles of wine or 6 bottles of beer per adult, and that's bearing in mind an adult over the age of 21, not 18, because you're in America. And also if you take on any more than that, they will actually confiscate it, and you can get it back when you get off the ship. And it's always worth looking into the drinks packages once you get on board, which are quite competitively priced and work out a lot better price wise than actually buying a glass of wine or a beer evening to evening. We certainly did the wine package, and we did a soft drinks package, so water, so bottled water to take off the ship, and it worked out quite reasonable. So I definitely recommend think about doing a drinks package on board. 3 is transportation. So I know at the moment there's a lot of talk about the Magical Express stopping next year in 2022, but there's no mention about what's going to happen with the Disney Cruise Line. We actually took the Disney Cruise Line down on our cruise down to Port Canaveral back in 2018. One thing I wasn't aware of was how late they would actually collect us from our resort. So we ended up not being collected till about 1:30 in the afternoon, which meant we didn't get down to the ship till around about 3:30. By the time you'd been through security and got on the boat, it was nearly 4 o'clock. Bearing in mind the ship normally sails away about 4:30, it doesn't give you a lot of time to actually explore the ship before the sailing away party, which you really don't want to miss. It's amazing. So my tip here would be to think about making your own way down to the cruise liner, whether you hire a car or think about getting an Uber or a cab down there, just to make sure that you can dictate what time you actually get down there and how much time that you have on the ship before it sets sail. Though there is time after the sailing away party, you've normally got your evening entertainment and your meal coming up, so you don't actually have a lot of time to explore. So getting down there that little bit earlier, getting on that ship a little bit earlier will just give you that little bit more flexibility regarding time. 4 is room positioning. I get very, very badly travel sick, and so I was really worried about actually being on the ship and actually getting very ill and not enjoying the cruise. I did my research and it recommended being midship and as high as possible, so we were actually on deck 10 in the middle of the ship. What I didn't anticipate was the fact we were right under cabanas, which meant it was extremely noisy till the early hours of the morning. Do think about your positioning, try and plan ahead, and making sure that you know what's above and below you, just so you know you're not kept awake to the early hours of the morning, especially if you've got younger children. As something to bear in mind, everyone is quite respectful when they come back late at night, but obviously if you're right underneath cabanas it can be very noisy, as we discovered. Certainly I got on fine actually, bit from a sort of travel sickness point of view, being in the sort of mid part of the ship, and didn't seem to sort of feel too unwell at all. So definitely midship and as high as possible, but think about where your positioning is. So tip 5 is decorating your room door. What we weren't aware of until we'd done our very first Disney cruise was everyone decorates their cabin door and they look awesome, amazing, celebrating birthdays, whatever occasion you're there for, or just if it's your first Disney cruise, we hadn't taken any magnets or decorations. That what they mustn't do is damage the door in any way, so magnets are really good to decorate the door. We have awesome cruise magnets on board that you can use to decorate your cabin door. But it might be something, you know, if you're thinking about doing your first Disney cruise, plan your door, get your magnets and take them on board, and it does look awesome to being able to decorate your room and get you in the whole spirit of the Disney cruise. Tip 6 is you can actually prepay your tips. So all the cast members that look after you, you are given a sort of set amount that's expected that you will tip. You can always add to this. You know, if you have an extraordinary cast member, which we did, we had 3 amazing cast members, but by prepaying your tips before you get on the ship, you can sort of budget out a little bit of the costings, because it can actually work out quite expensive over a few days on the cruise ship. So by prepaying, you budgeted that amount. You can, as I said, you can add to that later down the line if you do have a really exceptionally good cast member, but it's just something that you can prepay before you get on board. So that would be one tip I would say to think about doing before you actually get on. Tip 7 is book early. We booked our Disney cruise the minute that the dates got released. It used to be years ago, the longer you left it, the later you left it, the better deal you got. In fact, with a Disney cruise, the nearer you actually get to the date, it gets more and more expensive, and I can confirm that because I checked the costings right up until the day that we actually set sail. So always think about, you know, knowing when you want to do a Disney cruise, getting it booked up as soon as possible, because you will get the best deals, and they are quite expensive. They're an amazing experience, and it was a once in a lifetime experience for us. It was on our Disney bucket list, so I'm really pleased we did it. But definitely get in there early, get the dates, and that can also mean that you actually get the cabin that you want. So think about booking early. Tip 8 is to think about your show times and meal times. So as you get on the ship, you will be given a key card which will put on the order of your restaurants. You will get to go to every single one, and depending on the length of the cruise, you may go to the same restaurant twice. Unfortunately, we only went to Animators Palette once, which was our absolute favourite restaurant. It was absolutely amazing, brilliant experience. If you think about Talk with Crush, it was 10 times better than that. Anyway, when we went on our cruise, we decided to do dinner first, followed by the show, and actually most of the time we never made it to the show. We had younger children at the time. After a very busy day exploring, enjoying and doing activities off the ship, they were both absolutely exhausted after dinner and were too tired to actually go to the show. So one thing I would say is think about the order that you actually do on the ship. So my recommendation would be to do the show first and then do your dinner. They are very good, the cast members that look after you. You have the same cast members that go from restaurant to restaurant with you, and you build up a really good friend. So tip 9, plan your days. A Disney cruise is a lot more chilled than being in a Disney park, so you don't have to book all your fast passes and things, but we've talked about Waterventures, but you want to try and roughly plan out your days to get the most out of the Disney cruise. There is so much to do, and each day you get a new sheet with all the activities for the day. You cannot do everything, but just planning out each day, thinking about the things that you want to achieve, is just, you know, it's worth doing to get the best out of your Disney cruise. And it's something I wish we'd done a little bit more planning before we'd actually got onto the ship, because it was over so quickly. The time you think you've got loads of time, but it actually goes really quickly. By the time you actually get onto the ship, we only really had a couple of full days, because when you get off the ship, you get off at 7:30 on your last day, so that isn't actually, you know, you don't actually get a day on the ship. So realistically, on a 5-day cruise, you're only getting 3 full days, and it feels like a lot of time, but it really isn't. So think about planning out your days a little bit. Tip 10 is Castaway Cay. It is truly beautiful, such a stunning island. It is true paradise, and you want to enjoy every single moment that you have on the island. Some of the cruise ships actually do 2 days there, which would be amazing because there is so much of the island to see. 2 days you would be able to explore far more, but for us we only did 1 day. Both my husband and my son did the 5K Castaway Cay run. which was amazing, great experience, but we didn't realise actually they were going to be off the ship for quite so long. They were off early and they didn't actually get back. They left around about 7. They weren't actually back on the ship till around about 10:30, which meant that we were actually quite late getting off the ship. So if you do have family members that are doing the run, get off with them and start enjoying the island as early as possible. You get actually quite a short period of time on the island. By the time you actually get off, it's around about 7:30, 8, unless you're doing the run, and then you actually have to be back on the ship for around 4, 4:30 in the afternoon, which isn't very long if you consider how much there is to do on the island. One of the port ventures we did do at Castaway Cay was the swimming with stingrays. It was the most amazing experience. I'm not a big lover of the sea and don't love swimming in the sea, but for me it was a bucket list item, and it was truly amazing. It was one of the best experiences of my life. So that would be one of the port adventures I would definitely recommend actually being able to do. Going back to that, if you do have children, you can, part of that port adventure, they will give you snorkels, but I actually took the all-in-one mask with snorkels, especially if you've got children that have never snorkeled before. It just means that they can get in the water and snorkel straight away. It can be quite tricky to get used to snorkeling with a mask and everything, so the all-in-one mask can be really good if they've never been snorkeling before, as you can, because the time just goes so quickly. And like I said, if you can, do 2 days at Castaway Cay, because 1 day just never feels like enough. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please don't forget to give it a like, because it really helps out the channel. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. We're hoping to go to Disney World again in August this year, so there'll be lots more content to come. If you've got any questions or about the Disney cruise, do feel free to leave them below. I will try and link whatever I can, or you can also message me via Instagram any questions, which is Adventures with the Herberts. Thank you again. Bye.